Okay, folks, here we go to another episode of a comical analysis of Sugarmade. I know a lot of people aren't laughing right now, but let me show you what I'm seeing. Okay, what we've been going over is just that even though we're just in this strong downtrend, we're actually able to see that this is responding to some trend lines. And so, what I'd like to show is where this began, where the press release was, where this started, and this is all involving the bud cars and the development of that being the major project for Sugarmade. And so as we're able to uh, look and see what we've been dealing with for a while is consolidation and downtrend, and consolidation, downtrend, downtrending down. But right here is the 19th of February. So what I'd like to show is if we go back to February, we have news on the 11th. Okay, and so this is basically where this had started. Somebody must have known, obviously this was going to come out. We have this candle that began to make a move higher, and then the news came out here, and there was some buying, selling, whatever, but it was actually moving up. If we go to hollow candles, we can see that both these candles closed higher than they opened, and then we have this pivot right here, and then this move down. So let's look and see what we've got going here. So we've got news that came out on the 11th, and then we have news on the 25th. Okay, and so we've made it up to here, and then we start to consolidate, coming down, coming down, coming down. Now the news came out on the 25th, so this is kind of strange that it continued to sell off and then just turn around, and we didn't have another PR come out. There was no more news, so it sold off for 2 days before it turned back around, which I feel is kind of strange how that behaved, but whatever, it is what it is. But that this is where our trending down into consolidation began. And so as we look, we can see throughout these moves that we had PRs that came out. You can see where we peaked and then pulled back. But this is where this began to operate, or be able to be seen that it could operate off of a trend line. This is no joke. I mean, this was the pivot right here, and as it continued down, if we just said that these candles weren't here or whatever, and let's just look at the closest high down to the bottom, it would have been this candle right here. And now I'm big, let me close it down a little bit. It would have been this candle right in here. And so if we had just connected those 2 points, we can see where our highs are, bumping their head on the trend line as it comes down. And so what I want to show right now, not to get anyone's hopes up, but this is what it appears to be doing. This line right here was created from these pivots right here, these highs. And so this actually, is where you can see we had a long period of consolidation, and it was actually still moving up to right here. This is the apex. This is the pivot point. It was actually a spinning top, opened and closed flat. And so it began to have a descending trajectory. I mean, the stock was just really dropping hard. But the very first high pivot from that point, we were able to draw this trend line here, and then it gave us the base for the support of this move right here. And so without going into PRs and looking to see what caused our moves or whatever, just understand that this line was here. This line was here, and then it broke that line and moved up. Okay, and so we did have a PR that came out for this move too. Again, without going back and forth, I'm just trying to make a point of what it looks like maybe happening or could possibly happen from this point, or possibly throughout. But what we see is that once it broke the trend line, then it found support on that trend line, and then broke through the trend line and came back and then found support on this trend line. This line was created from these two moves here. Okay, and so it came back and found support, and we had a lot of buying pressure, good moves, like 200% moves throughout this move up. It broke through this trend line, and this trend line is created from way back over here. And it had to have already had this high right here for me to be able to have created that trend line. And so then once we had that, that seemed to be a base. That seemed to be the support for this downward consolidation. This move, we'll look at that later. Well, look at it right now. This is just something that I wanted to lay out and see if we couldn't see later on down the line. This stock is going to go up, folks. This line could go out. We could do this for 2 years to the right. So, you know, I'm not saying it's going to go up this high this anytime soon. But anyway, I want to see how it reacts to this line whenever it comes into play. But as it is right now, we've come up, and not saying that this line has anything to do with it right now. It came up and then pulled back. And so then we were able to draw this line, this trend line coming from way back over here. I want to make this smaller just so you can see what it actually is that I'm trying to point out, is that we're stair stepping, and these are very solid moves. You can see, you know, where we were really just trending down, and then a good solid move up. I mean, man, don't you guys wish we could get a move like that? 3 cents. I mean, ugh, come on. But again, you know, just trending down, and then we have a high, and they all come across over here, and we're able to match them to pivots in this new area of development right now as we sit. And so let's look and see what it kind of seems like is taking place. Now we've got a couple of lines here that, you know, I've pulled off of this pivot and then just put them to the highest, and you know, it did work for a while. It came and worked down, and now it as it broke through, it seemed to be, you know, a good support for it for a while. But then off of this high, was able to, using this pivot, draw another trend line, and of course, you know, you see what's going on there. It's really not reacting so much to it, but it does. You know, it's not using it as a springboard or anything like that, but it certainly is finding a foothold on it. And so now we have broken away from there and pulled up, able to find some highs right here that we could draw another trend line. Now where we're at in this area right here, what I'm saying, I don't want to give anyone any false hope, but what it looks like, as you see, as we break a trend line, then we get the move up. We come back, had found support. We come up, we break a trend line, and it, once it breaks through, then we have a good strong move up. Well, we haven't had a strong move up all the way since this high of 0072. Okay, and so we're pulling all the way back, broke through the 50 like it wasn't there. That really is not a moving average that comes into play so much with, you know, the stock. But anyway, it didn't react to it at all. I do know, my gut feeling is that if it pulls back and curls and gets on top of the 50, we're in good shape. That looks like it could happen. You know, if it curls back around, it certainly could get there, you know, relatively soon. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. It's just that we're at this little apex right here. So we've got this descending trend line. If we can break on top of this one and get on this top of this trend line, we have created another channel. Okay, and so then once we get there, and if you look at the news and everything that we've got going right now, there's a very good possibility. Look at the area we're at. We're in the same area of consolidation. Our RSI, you know, I've drawn some pivots here. This is, you know, obviously it's just, you know, continuing to trend down, But this is something that I use. If you guys do not use RSI crossovers, you need to. It works great. You can get in, early on moves. I'm talking about day trading. I'm not talking about swing trading. It would work too, but that's just not on this particular stock the way it's behaving. So where we're at right here, what I'm thinking is that if we can get on top of this, we have this trend line, it would be support on this trend line as well as support on this trend line, looking for a good solid move to the upside. Then once we found our pivot and pulled back, then we would be able to come back way over here and start again and have our new channel. And so from the very first video that I put out, I wasn't trying to predict how exactly the stock was going to behave, other than pointing out that it is reacting to trend lines, and it certainly is behaving within these wedges, within these channels. And so once we're able to break through a trend line, then it uses it as support. I feel like we could have a move, something happen pretty soon. But I just wanted to point this out, that I feel like we're at a literal crux right here that could be something beneficial to the upside from this point. How strong? Who knows? We've got uh, you know, a lot of dilution that's taken place, and the dilution-disillusion, it's creating a lot of just chaos in the chat room. Everybody's just trying to understand how all of this is continuing to trend down when we have so much supposed positive news. But when you start to get into exactly what it is that's taking place, they're expanding. Sugarmade is expanding at such a rate that they're investing, just going back hand over fist back into the business. I believe that. I believe that this is a legitimate venture. And so I just wanted to point this out. I think we're in, for a move right here. Don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it looks like we could possibly see, something happen within the near future. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good day.